Buongiorno, mi chiamo Charlotte e oggi studiamo una poesia di Gianni Rodari. Si chiama Promemoria. Andiamo. Hello everyone, my name's Charlotte and today we'll be looking at an Italian poem written by Gianni Rodari and it's called Promemoria. Okay, this video is mostly, but not just, for people who are members of my Italian club, which is a monthly Italian club I run every first Tuesday of the month, and club members will receive a link to this video as well as a bespoke handout which has a description of what we're studying. Here, for example, we've got the text of the poem. Several bits are highlighted, grammatical parts to help the student to identify, say, verbs in the infinitive. Here we've got some additional exercises, and then I've got some interesting links to online resources where you can do further study. Okay, so we've got some really interesting ones today which are to do with rhymes and poems. So hopefully you'll enjoy those. If you're interested in joining my club, then please send me an email. Get in touch using the information listed in the description below this email. It would be lovely to have new members, and you can always leave comments under the video as well and take part in the kind of the culture, if you like, of my students who sometimes do like to get in touch with each other or even meet up to do studying in their own time. Okay, so let's have a look. I've written it out on this board behind me and we're going to go through it. First of all, I'll read out the words and you can read along on the board. Okay, so Promemoria. Ci sono cose da fare ogni giorno. Lavarsi, studiare, giocare, preparare la tavola a mezzogiorno. Ci sono cose da far di notte. Chiudere gli occhi, dormire, avere sogni da sognare, orecchie per sentire. Ci sono cose da non fare mai, né di giorno né di notte, né per mare né per terra. Per esempio, la guerra. Okay, so there's quite a nice little set of rhymes there. So here we've got giorno and mezzogiorno. Then we've got dormire and sentire, and then we've got a little rhyming couplet at the end here, terra and guerra. So guerra, terra, guerra. So what's quite useful actually is when you read poems you find out what rhymes with what in Italian. Now, lots of words in Italian end with vowels, so often there'll be lots to choose from when it comes to rhyming, especially if you've got things like here we've got the end of infinitive verbs, ire, are, ere. So the fact that there's a lot of uniformity between the three main types of verbs, they've got three normal endings, that means that gives you a lot of scope for rhyme, just by using verbs. So let's see. Promemoria, that means like a reminder. It can also mean a memorandum. It's a reminder, something for your memory. Promemoria. Ci sono cose da fare ogni giorno. Ogni giorno, every day. Ci sono. So ci sono is the verb essere and the pronoun ci. So in the singular that would be c'è, there is. C'è. Super useful. So you need to know that, especially if you're sort of intermediate, but you probably will know that already. C'è, there's the third person singular from essere in the present tense, it or he, she is, and then chi, shortened down to a C with an apostrophe in front of it, is the shortened form, the abbreviated form of chi, which normally means there. It can mean there as in a place, like ci vengo, I'm going there, or I'm coming there, if you like. But it also tells you what exists, if you like. So c'è, it is, no, there is, sorry. Sometimes there's a disjoint between my brain and my mouth. There is, okay, like there is a lot of room in this house. There is a big cloud on the horizon. There's a little bird. So there is can also, obviously in English, be shortened down to there's. Okay? But that's the singular, followed by something singular. A big cloud, a bird, lots of room, okay? So it's singular. In the plural, ci sono, ci sono. So that's what we've got here. There is in the plural, in English, becomes there are. So this actually functions very similarly to the Italian. Ci sono due ragazzi. There are two boys. Ci sono tante penne. Lots of pens. Ci sono. There are. Singular form. There is. Or there's. You can also say there's. There's two boys, for example. That in English can be shortened down to theirs. Okay? So if you're Italian learning English, ci sono can mean there are or there's, if you're abbreviating it. Ci sono cose, cose. That's got an E at the end, cose. Things. Una cosa, one thing, una. It's a feminine noun, thing. But here we've got in the plural with an E at the end instead of an A, that's the plural things. There are things da fare, to do. Da in front of fare, you'll see that often. Ho da fare, oggi ho da fare. Okay, ho da fare means I have things to do. I've got to do stuff. I'm busy, basically. So you might hear da fare with the verb avere. Abbiamo da fare. Ho da fare. Lasciami in pace perché ho da fare oggi. Leave me alone because today I've got stuff to do. So you might find that in that kind of context, like the idiomatic use. But da followed by fare is often found after a noun, things to do. Or da actually can follow a noun when it's followed by a verb. So cose da fare, persone da vedere, da vedere, it must be seen. You'll see da in front of verbs, but often followed by, not always, but followed by a noun, or preceded by the verb avere. There are things to do every day. Ogni giorno, ogni mese, ogni settimana, ogni anno. So this here, ogni, tells you how frequently something occurs. It's a word of frequency. So ogni doesn't actually change. It's always O-G-N-I, whether it's before giorno, mese, persona, ragazza, donna. So it's unchanging. It's a fixed word, but it can be followed by a singular noun. Okay, masculine or feminine, whether it ends with an O or an A, or whether it's one of the ones like mese, which ends with an E, even though it's a masculine noun. Ogni mese. Io faccio una sessione su YouTube ogni mese. Ogni primo martedì del mese. infatti. Ok, mese, anno, settimana. Any of those words, for example, can be preceded by ogni. Settimana, mese, anno. It means each or every, okay, when we're talking about frequency. Okay, or it could mean every person. So it's not always just about frequency. It can be kind of an all-encompassing word as well. Every person must have liberty. Again, thinking back to the content of this or the purpose of this. So, ci sono cose da fare ogni giorno. Lavarsi. Here we've got a reflexive verb. So the reflexive verbs here are essentially used as nouns. In English we'd say washing or getting washed, washing oneself, but it's the infinitive form in Italian. It can function as sort of a noun. Studiare, studying. Giocare, playing. Preparare, I was going to say preparare la cena, but that's not what it says. Preparare la tavola, preparing the table, laying the table. A mezzogiorno, at midday, important for Italians. So there are lots of things, there are things to do each day. Washing oneself, lavarsi, that means oneself. Studying, playing, preparing the table at midday. Now we've got this saying ci sono cose in every verse. Ci sono cose da far di notte. Sometimes you get this. I need to look into like an explanation of why and when it is precisely, but I can kind of recognise it as like a poetic kind of use, I guess. But here we've got fare di notte, fare ogni giorno. So here it's just followed by a preposition. Maybe that's why they've clipped off the E. I think it just makes it easier to say. They've taken off the E in fare. That happens sometimes in poems and songs, even in writing, especially when fare is followed by another verb. That's not the case here. So we'll put it down to poetic license for now. Maybe to keep the number of syllables. Ci sono cose da fare di notte. 10 syllables there. Ci sono cose da fare ogni giorno. Well, this one's got 12 syllables in, so I don't think it's really a case of trying to keep the rhyme, like the structure and the meter of the poem. Okay, so I don't think that's why it is. There are things to do at night. Di notte, at night. Di mattina, in the morning. Di sera, in the evening. Chiudere gli occhi. Closing your eyes. Close your eyes. Closing your eyes. Again, we've got lots of infinitive verbs here. Really useful. They're quite common, regular, you know, normal ones to know. Chiudere gli occhi. So these are like kind of cognates, you know, that closing and eyes, they go together in English. Or shut door, closed door, open, close. They're words that are kind of grouped together. So you should know chiudere. Gli occhi, eyes. Dormire. Common IRE verb there, to sleep. So sleeping, again, if you translate it into English. There are things that you do at night. Closing your eyes, sleeping. Avere sogni da sognare. The way I would translate that, because we've got, you could say dreams to dream. Sogni da sognare. Things that have to be done. Cose da fare. Here we've got the noun things, followed by the preposition da, followed by the verb fare. Things to do. Dreams to dream. Things that need to be done. Dreams that need to be dreamed. So with this preposition da preceding the verb and following a noun, plural nouns as it happens, da gives you a sense of the necessity or the purpose, things to do, dreams to dream. I would translate avere, though, as like a gerund kind of participle, so present participle. There are things to do at night or at night time. Closing your eyes, sleeping, having dreams to dream. Having there sounds like it's on a list of priorities. But again, you could just take it out. Sogni da sognare. Orecchie is per sentire. Okay, here we've got the preposition per following a noun and preceding a verb, an infinitive verb. So that there, when you have per esempio, vado a Bologna per vedere un amico, per mangiare qualcosa, sono qui per parlarti. Okay, so if you've got per in front of an infinitive verb, it's kind of for the purpose of doing something. So, is orecchie per sentire. Now, sentire doesn't mean listening. Listening is quite an active verb, even in English, it's the same thing. Sentire is to allow sound into your ear. It's a bit more passive. It just happens as long as your ears are functioning normally. Instead of actively listening, sentire is to hear. So this is nice, this is relaxed. Things that you do on a daily basis during the day, quieter, more gentle things at night time. Then things change a little bit. So I'm going to have to bring the desk down a bit here, I think, in order per vedere l'ultima parte, in order to see the last part. Ci sono cose da non fare mai. Okay, there are things to never do. Non fare mai. So if you want to say never, like I have never, non ho mai. You put non before the verb, non fare, or if it's conjugated, non ho, I have, mai, non ho mai fatto qualcosa. Non ho mai fatto quello. Never done that. Or questo. So non and mai mean never. Mai can sometimes mean ever as well. Mai, never ever. If you hear it repeated twice, never ever. So there are things to do in the day, things to do at night, and there are things to never do. Ci sono cose da non fare mai. Cose da fare. I want you to remember that. Cose da fare, cose da non fare, or cose da non fare mai. Okay, things to do, not to do, or never to do. Now we've got some other little negative markers here. Ne di giorno, neither in the day, or not at daytime, neither at night. Ne and ne, neither nor, or neither nor, depending on how you pronounce it. Here we've got another repetition of ne. Ne per mare, ne per terra. Neither by or on sea, neither on land. Per mare, per terra. Per esempio, oh scusa. Per esempio, la guerra. Now what does la guerra mean? This is what makes this pertinent at the moment, given the Ukrainian situation. This means war. La guerra. There are things never to do, or to never ever do. Neither in the day nor at night time. Neither on the sea or on the land. Now in English we'd probably say neither on land or on the sea, just because we tend to say on land or sea. When we put them together we put land first. But here it has to rhyme with guerra, okay? But sometimes things like that, the order of cognates, if you like, I think cognate is the word I mean, words that are associated with each other or found in close proximity to each other. In English I think we'd say neither on land or sea. And land would come first, but here we've got by sea or on the sea or on land. Per. Now we saw that last time. What was that from? Per. Oh no. I think I'm thinking my French thing that I've done. Per. Anyway, this can mean by. Okay. Here's an example. Per esempio could mean by example or for example. So there's various ways that you can translate that little preposition, per. And we've got it all over here actually. Per mare, per terra, that's the means of going places. It tells you how you're travelling basically. On land, by land. On the sea, by the sea. By example or for example. And then per here in front of sentire is telling you the purpose of the verb. So, or the purpose, explaining the purpose of the noun that precedes it. The purpose of the noun, the ears, is listen or hearing, sorry. Sentire. Le orecchie per sentire. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the parts there that I think are useful. So on my handout I've got a little match up the Italian to the English, or the English to the Italian. So let's do a few of them. Things to do. Things to do. You can see this in three, or each of the three verses. Ci sono cose da fare. Things to do. Cose da fare. Ho da fare. You might say, I have stuff to do. And you might just say, ho da fare on its own. You might hear that. But you could say, ho tante cose da fare oggi. I've got so many things to do today. And if you did, you could put molte or tante in front of it. Many or so many in front of that. What about eyes? Come si dice? Eyes. Orecchie looks a little bit like the word eyes because it starts with an O and it's got this C-I kind of K sound, the hard sound that comes with a C and an I. But it's not that. It's occhi. Un occhio. Think of a very famous character from an Italian story. Pinocchio. Pinocchio. So, pine eye. Pinocchio, as British or American, English speaking people might pronounce it Pinocchio with an O, actually was Pinocchio, occhio, wooden eye or pine eye, made from pine. Okay, so gli occhi. Why is it gli occhi? Why is it not just it's plural, masculine? Why isn't it I occhi? Because when you have a masculine plural noun that starts with a vowel like an O, occhio, instead of saying I occhi, which is hard to say, you use a different article. Gli occhi. Gli occhi. Gli occhi. Così, like that. Okay, let's have a look. There are. This was the first thing I pointed out right at the beginning because it's at the beginning of every, of every verse. Ci sono. Ci sono. Ci sono. Followed by plural noun. Okay? There are things. Ci sono uomini, donne, ragazze, uccelli, gatti, regali, whatever you want. Okay, you follow it with a plural noun. The singular, there is, like there's a cloud, you use this actually with weather. C'è il sole. Oh, there's the sun's out. It's sunny. C'è, Okay, so the singular version is C apostrophe E with a grave accent, and that means there is, singular. Ci sono separates the ci pronoun from the plural loro form, if you like, they form of the verb essere in the present tense. By the way, that little ci sono or c'è, you can use it in a few tenses. So, for example, ci saranno. What's ci saranno? There will be. Ci saranno is the future tense. There's the loro form of sorry about the reflection. Loro form of essere, but it's in the future tense. There, they will be, if you like. So ci saranno. There will be, plural. Lots of people, women, men, cats, dogs, presents, whatever you want to say. You can also use it in the imperfect tense, for example. We'll just do that one for now. So this one is c'erano. I'll just put the singular version here as well so you can see what that is. Ci sarà and c'era. Normally you'd put the singular first and then the plural, but so here we've got ci saranno. Ci sono becomes ci saranno in the future. There will be. Ci sarà, that's also in English, there will be, but it's for something singular. Ci sarà il sole. It will be sunny. The sun will be there. So in the imperfect tense, imperfetto, ongoing actions in the past, c'era molta gente. There were loads of people there. That's not a good example because in English, people is plural, but gente, la gente in Italian singular. So if you said there were lots of people and you used la gente instead of persone, you could say c'era molta gente. I'll write it down. Getting a bit off topic here. Molta gente. You'll notice that molta agrees with gente. If you're not sure about that, then that's something we can look at some point. Basically, it's agreeing with a noun that's feminine. Many or a lot of something. Okay. As opposed to very plus an adjective. Molto caldo. Molto interessante. You don't need to change molto. But when you've got a noun with molto, molta, molti, molte, then it agrees with the gender and number of the noun that follows it. Okay, and it can mean many or a lot of something. A lot of people. Now let's see. C'era molta gente. There were lots of people. C'erano molte. Why not just continue with that? Actually, molte persone basically means the same thing. But instead of using gente, which is singular feminine singular, we've got molte persone. Sorry about the light reflection. There were many people. Lots of people. C'erano molte gente. So ci sono can exist also in other tenses like the future. Ci saranno. Just take the verb, put it in the future tense loro, keep the ci in front of it. Here in the imperfect we've got erano, that means they were. That's essere, to be, in the imperfect loro form. But instead of putting ci in front of it, ci erano, no. Non si fa, no. Facciamo invece ci apostrofo, erano, c'erano. Okay, so you don't put ci and then erano, you shorten it down to make it easier to say. Okay, what else is there? To wash oneself, that's a reflexive verb. Or getting washed, if you like. That would also translate this way. Lavarsi. Lavarsi. Okay, so verbs that are used in their infinitive form, like this, could translate into English as to wash oneself, as opposed to like a car. It's reflexive, one's body, one's own body. Or it could be like a kind of, I don't know if it's like a gerund or it's a present participle we call it, but ing at the end. Oh, scusa, that's my alarm. I'll finish in a moment. Washing oneself, getting washed. But if it wasn't being translated in a poem where you have to sort of make the English have a sort of poetic sense as well, if you were just looking at lavarsi in a dictionary, it would say to wash, brackets oneself, or something similar. Okay, so often infinitive verbs can be used as like a noun, like if you're making a list of things that you can do, cose da fare, studiare, giocare, preparare. You might get, for example, in una ricetta, when you get a recipe, you might have a list of steps or stages, instructions written with just like an infinitive verb, mescolare, cucinare, whatever, cook or mix or measure, weigh. Okay. It also helps if they're making a list with instructions and you use the infinitive verb, you don't have to decide which form of you to write the instructions in. Do you use the voi form because you're addressing lots of people if your recipe's online? Do you use the lei form? You know, do you use the tu form? Is that too informal? So that also allows you to avoid giving instructions or giving steps for something in one of three ways of addressing people. Instead, you can just use the infinitive verb. So we've got some really useful verbs here. I think that's enough for matching things up. If you're a member of my Italian club, you can look at the links that I've sent to some additional games and study with regards to poem and rhyme, if you like rhymes mostly. So go and enjoy that. If you have any questions, leave them underneath here. And what we're going to do now is just go through the infinitive verbs because they're in blue on my handout. Let's go under them, underline them with a red pen, just to make sure we know what they are. So, fare, oh, that's basically needs to be refilled. Fare means to do or to make. In this occasion here it means to do, things to do. Lavarsi, getting washed, washing oneself. Studiare, studying. Giocare, to play. Preparare, that means to prepare, to get ready. Here it's to get the table ready or lay the table. Here we've got fare without the final E that happens sometimes, especially with that verb. Then we've got chiudere, chiudere, to shut or to close. Shut the door, shut your eyes, shut your book, shut your shop, close the curtains, etc. Dormire, to sleep. Avere, to have or to have got, if you like. Particularly useful for American speakers or North American English speakers. Have got is another translation for avere. Sognare. You can see here that sogni, which is plural, comes directly obviously from the verb sognare, which is lovely. Just like in English, to dream becomes the noun a dream. Sentire, you might, well, that means to hear something, but it can also mean to feel. Okay, so sometimes just attenzione, careful about that one. Le cose da non fare, to not to do, or never do, if you add the mai on the end, M-A-I. Fare again, and I think that's all in terms of the infinitive verbs. The main thing here, things never to do on land, in the day or the night, on land or sea and land. For instance, war. So what I'm going to do is just read it one more time, and hopefully that will be a lot clearer to you. Maybe you can share the poem with your friends. Yeah, I don't like to dwell too much on what's going on, but there are lots of terrible things going on all over the place, particularly in Ukraine area. Yeah, so it's quite easy to be anxious and dwell on these things. Anyway, let's find some beauty in situations by, you know, finding some new poetry, for example, learning some new Italian words, and thinking about the beauty in life rather than the sadness in it. Promemoria, a reminder. Ci sono cose da fare ogni giorno. Lavarsi, studiare, giocare, preparare la tavola a mezzogiorno. Ci sono cose da fare di notte. Chiudere gli occhi, dormire, avere sogni da sognare, orecchie per sentire. Ci sono cose da non fare mai, né di giorno né di notte, né per mare né per terra. Per esempio, la guerra. Many thanks, everyone. If you're interested in joining my club, get in contact with me on the details below in the video description. Grazie mille. Take care now. Right? Ciao ciao, alla prossima volta.